I'm beginning this with one large assumption, and that is I'm assuming that you've been exposed to some individuals, maybe a lot of individuals, who have some pretty strong controlling tendencies, and perhaps maybe even you have some of those yourself. Now, when I talk about controlling tendencies, I mean you can be very stubborn or forceful or interrupt in communication too much. Maybe you don't receive input very well. Maybe the controlling person is somebody that's just constantly arguing and trying to push their point of view. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, in 35 years plus in a counseling practice, I've been able to watch people and see what kinds of trends and patterns that might bring a lot of disruption to our major relationships. And chief among those trends and patterns is the tendency for one person to attempt to control another person. In the class that I'm calling Free to Be, I'm going to present to you some information that can actually be very transformative. Now, understand that I'm not just going to be talking with you about behavioral changes you can make when you're in the presence of a controlling person, although we will discuss that. But going deeper than that, I'm going to be talking with you about how to change your mindset and make a paradigm shift so that the way you think and respond to that controlling individual is going to be quite different than probably you've been doing before. When you sense that someone is in a real full throttle control mode, what tends to happen to you on the inside? For example, I can imagine that there are times when you just feel very futile. Perhaps you feel insulted. There may be times when you just go into a real strong defensive mode. It could be that you get really angry, or maybe you just go into a high anxiety position. Many times the controller may help you feel like all the guilt in the world is right on you. And there can just be this sense of what's the use, and you can withdraw, you can pout. All sorts of things that can happen that actually just brings out the worst in you. Now, when someone is acting very controlling toward you, there are a couple of things that you can do that just perpetuates the problem. One, you can respond in a counter-control way. They're trying to be controlling, and then you try to wrestle the control away from them back onto you. Or second, you may just collapse in defeat. Either way, you're perpetuating the very thing that you don't want because whenever you do one of those two things, you're more or less communicating or conveying to the controller, go ahead and keep doing what you're doing because, you see, I'm going to play the game with you. And that's precisely what you don't need to do. Now, through the course of about 60,000 counseling sessions with individuals and then hundreds of hours of workshop presentations where there's a lot of interactions with people just like you, I've been talking with people who want to get away from the quagmire that happens when you're in the presence of a controlling individual. Now, to keep you from feeling like you're just spinning your wheels in futility when you're responding to the controller, there's one huge truth that I want you to begin with, and that is you'll need to cease making any attempt to change the controller's way of thinking and being. And instead, you want to focus on the one person you can do something about, and I think you probably know who that person is. You see, a controller can only be a controller if you allow yourself to play along with their power games. And you see, that's not something you're required to do. As you engage with me in the Free to Be series, you can do so with the expectation that you can live peaceably with your choices leading the way, despite the controlling person's stubbornness. Now, sure enough, I know that your interactions with the controller can feel terribly debilitating, and to that effect, I'd like to offer you a free resource that's entitled 7 Tactics to Release You from the Controller's Grip, and you can actually find it right below me on this website, just right beneath this video. I think you're going to find that to be very helpful. Once you get this resource, you're going to find that there are major adjustments that you can make both behaviorally and in your thinking patterns that are going to leave you feeling empowered and, frankly, very relieved. Now, in the next video, I'm going to be talking with you about the most common mistake people make when they're responding to a controller. And as I do, I'm going to give you a couple of good illustrations about how you can respond in a much cleaner way, because the primary goal that I have through all of this is to let you know you get to be true to yourself, and if another individual says that they have the idea of how you can live and how you're supposed to be, well, the bottom line is that's for you to decide. And we're going to be talking about that as we continue to go along.